As Post approaches the 10th anniversary of its Rehabilitation First Awards, we have long been a supporter of the principle of early intervention in the claims process for those needing rehabilitation to return them to the position they were pre-incident. However, some in the insurance industry are guilty of taking longer to come round to this principle, and this is an area which still sees lots of debate. With this in mind, as part of our claims video edition, I'm joined in the studio today by David Bingham, Chair of the British Association of Rehabilitation Companies, to discuss these issues. Welcome to the studio, David.
Afternoon.
There have been some calls for debate on dispensing with low-value personal injury payouts in favour of pure rehabilitation. Is this treating the customers fairly, and could it ever become a reality?
Well, I've canvassed the views of the BARC members, and they sit into two camps on many of the issues around rehab. But on this one, they're all pretty much united that whatever gets rehab to the patient or the claimant as soon as possible has got to be welcomed. It isn't rehab in place of anything else. It's trying to get the person back to their previous or at least to their best that they can be pre-injury. So we don't want it to be a replacement for any sort of monetary value. But at the end of the day, if it gets the patient into treatment quicker, we're all for it.
Cost is sometimes raised as a barrier to rehabilitation, but is effective rehabilitation really prohibitive in its cost, or could insurers save money in the long run?
Well, the general view that we believe is that rehab saves money across the board. It may be difficult to prove on individual cases, particularly the very low value ones, but across the board we believe there's a definite saving. There's been lots of studies that have shown the benefits of rehab. If we're talking about the lower cost value, the whiplash for example, you're only talking about £200 to £300 of treatment. Now if the insurers end up paying more than that for treatment, that's because of the other intermediaries. It's not going to the end treatment provider. So we think that overall the benefits of rehab in terms of cost are significant. When you go to the higher value claims, there's massive benefits to be had, massive financial, massive human impact benefits of rehab. So across the board, we don't believe that there's any of the cases that wouldn't benefit from rehab. What needs to be considered are the other intermediaries that are taking money out of that price process.
The personal injury process is often plagued by delays. In your opinion, what causes most of these delays? How should they be addressed, and what sort of a difference would that make?
Well, we know that the benefits of rehab are significantly better if you can get at the patient sooner. So it helps them if we can get treatment as soon as possible. The issues frequently lie around liability, responsibility thereof. When I've spoken to our members about this, it can be placed at the feet of the insurers that are delaying the process. It's sometimes placed at the feet of the lawyers that are delaying the process. So whatever helps to make the process smoother and quicker, ideally the patient goes into physio or rehab as soon as possible, and then everyone sorts out the costs down the line. Typically, for example, the introduction of the medical reports may slow the process down. Typically, if someone had a broken leg, they would have the leg treated first, and then someone would do a medical legal report on it afterwards. The process whereby there's a potential to have a medical legal assessment before treatment is going to slow it down.
Insurers are constantly on the lookout for fraud, but what impact does that have on the rehabilitation process? And is there a worry that all low-impact injuries face this stigma?
Yes, and I think we've experienced that from the rehab side. Some members would say it's unlikely that someone who's committing a fraud would turn up to physio on 5 consecutive sessions. So there's an argument that fraud is almost dealt with by the fact that they're not going to adhere to the treatment programme. The amount of money that we're talking about for rehab on the low value claims, the whiplash, £200 to £300, is a very small amount of money in the overall cost of the claims. And I think unfairly, rehab has got this almost this side of the coin that says that we are the people that are causing all the cost. In fact, we're not the people that are causing the cost. And so for the small amount of money that goes into those who may be fraudulent, it will get picked up by the clinicians and it will get reported back. So overall, I don't think fraud is a negative thing for the rehab market. I think the rehab market helps the fraud market.
The government is planning to introduce independent medical panels for whiplash claims. Is this a development that the rehabilitation community welcomes, and do you see it as being used elsewhere?
Again, canvassing our members, we've got different views, and the consensus view is anything that helps with patients getting into rehab is a good thing. There are questions over who's going to be doing the screening. If it's GPs, we're not convinced that GPs are necessarily the best people to look at musculoskeletal injuries. We think the physio world, the chiro world, even the osteo world are better placed. We also worry about the independence of clinicians, and I think it's often assumed that if someone has a medical qualification that they are independent and untouchable. Unfortunately, that isn't the case, and frequently the companies that they work for are people who are getting a significant amount of money from this process. So they're unlikely to be findings against the company that are employing them. So the independency of this whole process is of concern to the rehab world as a whole. And as I alluded to previously, the delays that may occur before the assessment happens, is this adding to the time process, and also is there presumably there will be another cost that goes into the mix. And when we consider for the low value cases, you're looking at £200 to £300 for whiplash that's going in the end to the treating clinician. The overall costs to the rehab process are very small, and if you add another £100, say, it's a big part of that, a big percentage of that cost. So there are doubts from that perspective, but if it gets more people into rehab, happy. If it slows the process down, unhappy.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I'm afraid that's all we have time for,
Okay.
but thank you for shedding some light on those issues. This is part of Post's Digital Claims Edition. For more on this topic, check out Post online in print and via the app edition. Also, don't forget to check out white papers and associated content on Post Intelligence app and also on Insurance Hound. That's all from me for now. Goodbye.